There's something important I need you to hear right now. Your loneliness was not random. It has not been a meaningless gap or punishment. It has been doing work inside you, quiet, stubborn work that has been shaping what you notice, how you protect yourself, and who you are becoming. You might feel like you've been waiting at a door that never opens, or like you're standing in a crowded room where no one truly sees you. Maybe you keep finding yourself almost there, a conversation, a connection, until something small snaps it back to being ordinary. Whatever shape your loneliness has taken, it has been signaling something, not sentencing you to it. If you want to be present for what's shifting on March 26th, join us. Sign up with the link in the description. Be there when the conditions around you begin to change. Let's name the common shapes this loneliness takes, because naming changes how we move. The first is situational loneliness. This is the plain sense of being alone because the people you need aren't available. Maybe a city that hasn't yet given you friends, a job that isolates you, or a season where friends have moved away. Situational loneliness can feel raw because it's about circumstance. There's a physical absence that sharpens itself into ache. The second is invisible loneliness. You're surrounded by people, but it's as if you're wearing glass. You can hear noise, see faces, exchange greetings, and still feel unseen. You might nod along to jokes, show up for events, and leave with a heavier chest, thinking, they liked me in passing, but they don't know me. Invisible loneliness is the loneliness of being present without being known. The third is the almost loneliness. These are the almost conversations, the moments that promise something deeper and then stop short. You find yourself replaying encounters, the pauses, the things unsaid, the timing that never quite lines up. It's the loneliness of possibility that keeps being postponed. It stings because it teases enough hope to make the continuing absence feel like a personal mismatch. Knowing which of these you live in changes how you respond. It shifts the work from blame and shame to practical, tender noticing. It helps you choose what to change and what to hold with patience. Type one word in the comments right now. Which of these describes your loneliness? Situational, invisible, or almost? I'll read what comes up. There's a pattern I want you to understand because it matters for what's coming. Inside you, things have been building. Small practices, guarded experiments, tiny invitations you offered to others and to yourself. You might not notice the accumulation because it doesn't look like progress the way we expect. It doesn't always come with dramatic results. But pressure builds quietly, a history of trying, refining, learning boundaries, noticing red flags, making different choices. That accumulation creates momentum. Imagine that momentum is something kept inside a well. Most of the time it remains under the surface, what you call preparation, or avoidance, or simply surviving. But there are moments when what's been inside is given a condition to move outward. That is what March 26 represents here, a threshold. Not a magic guarantee, but a moment where conditions, social, emotional, energetic, are more favorable for what has been growing to begin to appear in the world. I use two images to describe that threshold because they're useful and simple. Think of the moon as emotional closeness, what lights up your interior life, how you're able to feel seen and to see others. Think of Jupiter as amplification, what enlarges things, gives them reach, and makes small interactions feel bigger. And when I say moon and Jupiter are aligning, hear this as metaphor. A symbolic alignment where your capacity to connect, the moon, meets an energy that amplifies moments, Jupiter. That combination can create a climate in which small attempts at connection are more likely to find purchase and begin to stretch. This is not astrology as fate. It's a way to talk about timing. Sometimes social rhythms, conversations, and personal readiness converge, so the things you've been practicing are more likely to be noticed, reciprocated, or expanded. March 26th is simply the date we've chosen to gather and to be intentionally present for that opening. So what happens when pressure becomes movement? For many people, it looks like conversations that used to stall now loosen. You might find a quiet check-in turning into a steady thread of conversation, or an acquaintance who always kept things light suddenly asks something deeper. Not everything will be instant or perfect. But if you've been building receptivity, you'll notice that threads can hold weight. You can carry conversation farther without feeling like you're forcing life into it. All of this bumps up against something I call the hidden wall. It's not dramatic. It's not a fortress written around your heart. It's subtle, an instinctive safety mechanism that once protected you and now stands between you and fuller contact. The wall is the thing that makes you pause before sharing, that makes you shrink back when someone leans in, that convinces you to assume the worst, because assuming the worst keeps things tidy. How does the hidden wall show up? In tiny ways that feel rational. Hesitation before replying to a message because you don't want to seem too eager. Telling yourself you'll wait to reply until you know what they want. Downplaying your needs so you don't risk rejection. Settling for superficial talk because anything deeper feels risky. It shows up as an internal commentary. Better safe than sorry. That, over time, becomes default wiring. If you're reading this and wince as you recognize those moments, that recognition is excellent news. To feel the wall is to be in a position to lean into it differently. Weakening the wall doesn't mean smashing your boundaries or making reckless choices. It means softening the protective reflex enough to test out that the world is not only what your early wounds told you. It means lowering your hand just a bit to see if someone takes it. You're not being irresponsible if you practice vulnerability slowly. In fact, the people who move into steady, clear relationships often did so by deliberate, cautious experiments, smaller disclosures, steadier follow-through, clearer boundaries that actually help them stay safe while allowing depth to grow. Past investments, the time you spent learning to listen, the job you took that made you more confident, the nights you spent reading, reflecting, or doing the inner work, those were not wasted. They were education. They sharpened what you're ready to bring to a real connection. One of the most common lies we tell ourselves in seasons of loneliness is that intensity equals authenticity. We equate spikes of emotion, drama, fireworks, crisis, with deep feeling. That's why the arrival of something genuinely safe can feel disappointingly calm. True aligned connection is steady. It's the opposite of constant management. It's the kind of connection where you don't have to be on all the time to be seen, where consistency matters more than spectacle, where you can be ordinary and still held. If that feels foreign, that's okay. You learn to survive in a scene that rewarded alertness and drama. Learning to accept calm as a form of safety takes time. It asks you to rewire your expectations, to value a voice that checks in regularly over one that floods your inbox sporadically, to prefer someone who shows up reliably over someone who overwhelms you with passion and then disappears. This reorientation doesn't remove longing. It refines what you're longing for. There will be moments of disbelief when new steadiness arrives. You may find yourself waiting for it to fall apart, looking for the telltale signs that once meant the end of something. That's your history protecting you. Meet that disbelief with curiosity instead of judgment. Ask, what would it take for me to believe steadiness is real? Then look for small, verifiable answers, consistent messages, follow through on plans, a willingness to apologize or correct course. Proof will be in patterns, not in proclamations. There are also practical things you can do between now and March 26 to show up in a way that invites what you want without feeling like you're pushing or manufacturing outcomes. First, practice small invitations. Send a message that's concrete. Not, we should hang sometime, but are you free next Tuesday for coffee? Concrete invites reduce ambiguity and give you real answers. Notice how often people respond to clarity. Practice this with low stakes. Someone you like, an acquaintance, a neighbor. These small acts retrain your nervous system to tolerate the risk of asking. Second, test vulnerability at a scale you can manage. Share a minor disappointment or a small preference and observe the response. Did the person acknowledge it? Did they listen? Did they change behavior later? These tests are not about judgment, they're about data. Over time, the data informs better choices. Third, choose presence over performance. You don't need to curate your life into highlight reels. Presence looks like showing up and letting life be messy sometimes. It's a quiet way to signal availability that isn't performative. Fourth, set gentle boundaries that clarify what you will accept. Boundaries are not walls. They are fences that mark where safety begins. When you state a boundary calmly, you attract people who can respect it. Boundaries refine the field of who can truly come close. Fifth, stay attuned to your interior signals, but don't let them be sole decision makers. Your gut is useful. Your history is informative. Let them be part of a wider set of observations that include consistent behavior, time, and mutual effort. A word about help. If loneliness feels crushing or is accompanied by thoughts that are dangerous or paralyzing, consider reaching out to a trained mental health professional. There's courage in asking for support, and there are resources that can help you make sense of patterns that deep loneliness often hides. Between now and March 26, you don't have to do anything dramatic. Think of this as a season of readiness. It's a period to let small changes compound. If you keep showing up in modest, deliberate ways, you'll be more likely to recognize, accept, and hold what comes. I want to be clear about what we're offering when we ask you to join us before March 26th. This is an invitation to be present in a shared container, a space where people who understand quiet ache gather to practice clarity, to experiment with invitations, to witness one another, and to learn the kinds of small behaviors that make steady connection possible. It's not a promise of instant transformation, nor is it a guarantee that every loneliness will vanish. It's a deliberate moment to choose to be part of a communal experiment in receptivity, so that when openings appear, you're already standing in the room. When you register, what you're doing is choosing attendance. You're deciding to be there and to practice together with others who are trying the same kinds of small, concrete moves. You'll find others who have been through the invisible, the situational, and the almost. You'll hear practical stories, what worked, what failed, how someone turned a near miss into a steady friendship. The value comes from the collective noticing, the reduced shame, the accountability of small steps, and the chance to practice with low stakes. There will be moments during that gathering where people will talk about the hidden wall and where you'll be invited to test a tiny step. There will be quiet exercises in asking for what you need and in reading for response. There will be time to reflect on past investments, the things you thought were wasted, and to reframe them as preparation. Most importantly, there will be time to sit with the reality that calm can be deep and steadiness is a worthy aim. I'll say this again, plainly. This gathering is not a magic ticket. It is an opening. If you want to be present for what's shifting on March 26th, now is the moment to sign up so you don't miss the chance to be in that field. Don't mistake early urgency for pressure. The date matters because timing matters for shared attention. We're offering a specific window. Join before March 26th to be in that moment with others. There's honesty in that deadline. It's about creating a shared point in time when presence is concentrated. There is no forced outcome, only the increased possibility that when you and others show up, things that were private have better conditions to become public and reciprocated. If you're hesitating because you fear you'll be disappointed, I understand. Hesitation doesn't mean you're closed, it means you're cautious. If you're worried about standing out, know this. Most people in that room will be tired of masks and ready for honest, low-pressure practice. If you fear the old patterns will win, bring that fear into the conversation instead of letting it stay carved into your decisions. I want to leave you with a clear image. Imagine a horizon where small lights begin to appear. Each light is a tiny attempt, an invite, a follow-through, a boundary, a shared joke, a question that matters. Individually, each light might seem insignificant. Together, they form a constellation you can navigate by. If you've been living under clouds, those lights are what dissolve the fog. They don't promise roses overnight, but they convert private pressure into visible options. So here's the final invitation. Don't miss out. Join us before March 26th. Register through the link in the description so you can be present for this threshold. Come as you are. Bring your curiosity and your caution. Practice small experiments. Build evidence that steadiness is possible. You will find people who understand, who will show up in small but meaningful ways. And before you go, if this message landed for you, type one word in the comments right now, situational, invisible, or almost, and tell us which one you recognize most in yourself. I read them. Others do too. That single word helps you notice and helps others know they're not alone. If you can, share this with someone who needs reassurance. If you want to register, use the link in the description to join before March 26th. Remember, you have been preparing even when it didn't feel like progress. The quiet work inside you matters. The wall you keep watch with can be softened, not shattered. And the steadiness you crave is not out of reach. It's a practice you can be part of starting now. You are not alone. Don't miss out. Join us before March 26th.